Thank you for joining this webinar workshop. For our live attendees, please note there will be an opportunity for you to type in your questions throughout the webinar, which will be answered over audio at the end. For those of you that might be watching this recording, luckily you could still send us questions and simply do so to the email that you see at the bottom of the agenda. Now, as the uncertainty and the anxiety about the coronavirus outbreak consumes our daily lives, students and job seekers alike are still searching for positions or they're in the midst of a career transition. Now, some have felt that they should suspend their job search until the outbreak subsides, and others are looking into graduate school upon graduation this May. Now, understandably, the stress of the unknown future and of course having one's routine totally being upended may prove to be too much emotionally, and it may be actually best to stop your job search altogether. However, for those watching the recording, attending live, if you do feel mentally and emotionally prepared for a career search, or if you just have no choice but to find a job within the current climate, well, then I encourage you to continue your job search process since companies are still hiring. And even if the hiring process may be delayed, you will still be better positioned to transition quickly when the situation subsides if you maintain your momentum. So therefore, for those of you who might be currently unemployed, set to graduate, or just in the midst of looking for a particular job, you just want to make sure that you are focusing on some of the key points that we're going to discuss throughout this workshop today, and really discussing how to be able to manage this process of this challenging time. Now, a number of economists and policymakers, they predicted that the coronavirus will in fact lead to recession. And though a COVID-19 recession is likely to affect all Americans, despite the government's great stimulus package, it still may strain on some communities more than others. Now, college students trying to enter the workforce, they're in for a rough ride. Many looking for jobs will struggle to find them, and those who've had jobs or internships already lined up, they're suddenly getting their offers rescinded due to the economic impact of coronavirus. So many organizations have been saying this, and we're expecting more and more to come. Now, the Labor Department just reported back on April 2nd that 6.6 million people have already filed for unemployment benefits. That record number is quadrupled to those of the 1982 recession, and economists believe that it's still worse to come. Goldman Sachs, they even revised their forecast, and now they're anticipating that the unemployment rate is going to rise to 15% by the middle of the year. Now, the number of new job listings posted between mid-February and mid-March, due to our friends at ZipRecruiter reporting, they're saying that it's down by 29% compared to the same period last year. Now, while healthcare workers are at the greatest risk of contracting COVID-19, workers in other industries, in fact, sadly, might be in more risk of losing their job, and other industries are going to impact growth moving forward. Now, according to a recent study conducted by Smart Asset, they're saying that workers in several of the following industries that we're going to discuss at most risk within the terms of their job security during COVID-19 recession, and of course, some of these industries and what we're seeing right now in the terms of states that are most affected. Now, what we are hearing is that mining, oil, gas, transportation, warehousing, right? Other industries too, arts, entertainment, recreation, accommodation services, even food services alike. These are all being impacted and hitting hard right now in our US economy. Now, if we shift over to the mining and gas transportation industry, they're highly dependent on global commodity prices. So if there is a disruption in supply chains right now, you're going to see that impact within those industries. If you shift over to looking at the administrative services, waste industry, and even anyone that's involved in clerical activities, cleaning services, you would think that there would be more and more uprise with those. But in fact, we're just seeing a drop off because companies are either furloughing their employees, they're being asked to work from home and no need to have these services come in. And of course, just having in the entertainment business, so many shows and concerts closing, sports arenas stopping their seasons, Vegas for anyone that was even thinking about going to get away and relax with some stress, that's not occurring due to the fact that every single casino is closed. So that shifts us over to looking at some states that we're seeing currently most effective. Now, this, of course, is going to change each and every day as the reports continue to pull in. But currently, some of the most impactful states that we're seeing as of the end of March is Nevada, Hawaii, Wyoming. They're at the greatest risk right now because if you look at Nevada and Hawaii economics, they rely heavily on tourism. We were just talking about how Vegas is closed. I don't think anyone is going over to Hawaii either. They also rely on the arts and entertainment. So how many of those individuals that have been furloughed or those pursuing opportunities within the fields just being non-existent at the moment? Then you look at like states like Tennessee, right? We see Memphis having a significantly already reducing the number of employees that they have based off their transportation and distribution centers there. And then we shift back just to entertainment alone, Orlando, Florida, that not only had really great entertainment, I think we all associate with Disney, but you're even looking at, they have one of the largest administrative services, waste management industry. These percentages of workforce are going to be tackled. Now, we're highlighting these current job statistics. We're showing about some industries and states at the moment, of course, ever changing, that are currently being most effective, but we're not doing it to scare our students and job seekers. We want them to know what's in store for them and also to let them know that we will overcome this. Our economy has seen greater significance over decades upon decades, but we have to stay strong. And not only do we have to stay strong, but we need to see what's out there. We have to seek out our support. We have to continue to schmooze and connect with individuals within our network to continue to stay abreast of changes. And ultimately, when things do subside, we're all in better positions. And of course, we need to stay sane and we need to stay structured within this process, seeing that remote learning has now shifted to everyone's home office, and even those that are currently working, we all seem to shift now there to working remote too. So the first really topic that we want to discuss with our students and job seekers alike, and anyone that is really just working from home too, is that we want you to stay structured. And not only should you be staying structured, but you also want to create a workplace. A really big challenge for those that have now transitioned over to remote learning or working from home is that they don't have a routine, and then they're finding that home is where a lot of distractions live. Our television most likely has been on nonstop during this remote period. Well, we might have chatty roommates or perhaps loud neighbors. Not to mention that generally home is where most individuals associate their relaxing, their comfort area. So if you're trying to get into study or work mode from working at home, it's just an obvious struggle. So try to run some sort of defense, right? Have a distraction-free zone, whether that's shutting the door to your room. If you're just trying to keep distractions away, turn that TV off, put down your phone, or even maybe other things like your iPad. If you're into music, feel free to put your headphones on and have your music playing to distract you from any outside noise, or just headphones in general to distract yourself. Just find a way within your planning of your structure to get that distraction-free zone. Now, what we hear a lot from students is that, they couldn't really study in their dorm, or if they were off campus living with roommates, it was easier for them to go to a local cafe or campus library to separate their living quarters from their overall distractions. And we have a difficulty doing that now with so many states instructing their individuals for social distance and closing these non-essential organizations. So part of the transition to home study working is that if you set up your structured routine, it's going to make things that just appear much better for you. And what we mean by that is that you want to make sure that you're getting up at the same time, that you're eating, you're having your coffee if that's essential for you, and that you're also making sure that you're taking breaks throughout the day to connect with loved ones. Now, we want you to determine not only when your day is starting, but also have the same end time within that. You don't want to be working a little bit too hard because it's just going to make us all a little bit go crazy with cabin fever. But if you're creating a structure with the start time, including your breaks, it can actually really help you be intentional within your job focus or what other assignments at hand. Now, it's not just setting down that structure in the sense of your schedule. We also want to make sure that you're creating some form of workspace for yourself. Now, ideally, if you have a table or a desk, set up shop there. Make sure you have all your essential items that you need, your computer, your phone, your headphones as well, whatever, at this station. But we know that so many of us might not have that designated area already assigned to work from home. So just be creative, depending on your situation. Just find, again, that distraction-free area. But one thing we want to keep in mind is that you don't want to use your couch or your bed, for example, as your study area, even if you have a laptop and you just think how convenient it would be, because you have to realize that those areas, your couch and your bed, associates again with relaxing. And you know how tempted you're going to be to put down your laptop and turn on your Netflix or maybe just take a nap if you're in that environment. So that's why we want to put you within sections that could be fully up to date within your office, quote unquote, your study center. And that is a little bit more formal and not within things that we associate with relaxing. But again, it doesn't have to be that same desk. I'll take myself for example. I do have my formal desk that I'm conducting this live webinar right now from. It has my blue monitor, microphone, I should say. It has my dual monitor, a little tongue twister there. But when I'm stuck here and I get a little distracted myself from the same living quarters, I'll go into my kitchen. And from there, I'll be in arm's reach of my coffee pot. So if that's something that's more needed for that particular day. Basically, what we're trying to get a point is that you want to make sure that you're structured with your routine, that you have some form of creative workspace for yourself that is going to get you into that routine as well, and not to have something that always relies to comfort. And the final point that we'll say about staying structured is that you want to make sure that you're having some form of structured goal too, but make that goal a little bit realistic. You don't want to feel like you're taking every single moment of the day. For students that might be learning, just continue to educate yourself. For the job seeker that might be going ahead and applying online or networking, again, I meant, you're going to beat yourself up doing this. So there's always that temptation to do so when you are just focusing too much. So make tangible and manageable goals. If you are a job seeker, don't try to apply for 1,000 positions in one day. Do a certain amount of outreach, and not only that, but how many people new that you're going to connect with, let's just say on LinkedIn. That's going to help you in the sense of evaluating your goals too, to see, okay, maybe I can amp up my outreach, or hey, look how productive I am. I am engaging with more individuals, whatever your outcome is. So you shouldn't not be spending your 9 to 5 doing your search or your task or your job studies. You just rather be making sure that your structure is complete enough, that has all these goals in place and an ability to actually achieve them. Now, you also want to make sure that you're seeking support, and this dives deep into many levels here. Now, the first sort of support, as the screenshot entails, is that really career services at your campus is the best sort of support that you could turn to now more than ever within these tough times. Now, career services, most have shifted virtually at the moment. So your career counselors are more likely going to be able to assist you virtually, whether setting up a webinar, a phone call, just even reviewing your resumes, things that, of course, still is being provided through these offices. But you have to realize too that members that work in career services, their job is to keep their finger on the pulse of the current job market. So they're going to be able to provide you with more insights with maybe some of the partner organizations of theirs that are giving them more updates than what individuals are hearing from the news. Or maybe they're going to provide you with advice of how you prepare for upcoming Skype interviews, as that more likely will be more of a popular format. But you have to understand that there's so many different schools out there, and that all these students and job seekers, you're not alone. Everyone is starting to panic about the potential repercussions of the outbreak will have on their career future, and just maybe just the future of our society altogether. Now, even though your school's career services office doesn't have a crystal ball, the counselors there are working very hard right now to develop plans and understands what their employers are doing for a wide range of topics: part-time, full-time, internship, hiring, and even rescinding what the strategy will be. So make sure you schedule an appointment with a career counselor if you haven't done so already, and consider their advice of how they're going to direct you within these tough times. But whether you are just reaching out to career services, or even going a little bit further and not only doing that, but identifying people within your own network, an accountability partner, someone within your loved ones, your own network, right? That's going to be there to both be supportive, but also to keep you moving, and vice versa, to help that person too. We all need support. We need motivation, especially when it comes to being hopeful within a job search. And if you have to commit to self-care during this process, it's really an extremely stressful process, I should say, and then have all these other responsibilities on your hand, it's just going to give you a lot of anxiety and discomfort. So if you are practicing self-care and you do have some of this emotional crutch, someone that's going to be there for your mental well-being and to push you, it's really going to help navigate your job search. Other sorts of support is body and mind. We do like to say that meditation, yoga, even breathing techniques really are a great way to help and keep you calm during these stressful times. Sleep is another big thing, even though most of us are struggling to do so. And you can't have the excuse of, well, my gym is not letting me in now. YouTube is a saving grace for quick little workshops and workouts, I should say, that you could do from the comfort of your own living room. Now, speaking of support, Most career services out there, they are providing a lot of tools electronically that's going to aid within your job searching. Now, Vault is most likely one of those tools, but there's so many at your disposal that we encourage you to turn to. And even if the Career Center isn't offering those tools, still continue to dive deep and look about other sections. Now, other than turning to these tools, I even encourage you to go outside of career services and even look at your alumni offices for those that are trying to hear about more contacts within the field. Do you have professional or student groups on campus, faculty members that you could reach out to, or again, any other personal connections? These are all sort of your support that are going to help you within these tough times of job searching. Now, you also want to make sure that you're schmoozing, or real, I think how it's referred to as now, as networking. Vault was one of the early adopters of schmoozing years ago, as you could see from these old printed guidebook images. But you want to network not only with career services, but continue to network with everyone. Now, as a result of social distancing, you might not be able to go and have lunch with someone or drinks or just catch up within a coffee lounge. But it doesn't mean that you should stop networking your process altogether. You should still reach out to your old contacts and start to develop new contacts, whether you're trying to find these leads through LinkedIn, you're joining groups, you're having active discussions. Now, I'm going to quickly just talk about LinkedIn as a great tool to network, as we all know, and probably at this time understanding how necessary LinkedIn is for job searching. I think it even takes it a little bit step further in these tough times. If you don't have one already, you need to get a profile, and this profile of yours should be very pristine. And not only should you have that stellar profile, but you want to make sure that you're actively on LinkedIn. Don't just create that profile and let it sit there. You want to act up and make sure that your profile is showing off the image of your own personal brand. Now, that includes you going and checking out your profile each and every day, seeing if anyone has looked at your comments that you have posted, even to continue to use it to connect with individuals, those that are already in your network or those that you'll find as you continue to research opportunities. Now more than ever are we seeing employers going ahead and using all these search capabilities to find if a candidate does have some form of digital footprint. Now, more likely than not, if they're not going to LinkedIn, they're going on Google, searching your name. And if you do have your LinkedIn profile, that will probably be one of the first profile links that they'll see there. Hence why we say that you have to have that flawless profile. You have to really be active in networking, and especially being with the social distancing, it really is best to network for new connections, especially or any job related through that platform. But that doesn't mean that you don't want to continue to still network with your own network of sorts. And this could be through maybe having what I've been hearing a lot of my friends doing, and I haven't been invited to one yet, of having a digital happy hour, maybe using Zoom or FaceTime, whatever the technology that you'll be using, and just have a nice leisure way for everyone on one screen to connect, hear about some of the struggles that are going on within your own search, and just having a bigger network to bounce ideas off and brainstorm. And lastly, you still got to make your effort to network during this time. I think this would be one of the easiest things to take your foot off the pedal. You're assuming that if there is a company that's on a hiring freeze, or we're hearing about internships being rescinded, well, still network during this time, because you have to realize that we will get through this, yes, but once everything settles back to normal, that these companies aren't just going to be starting their search over again. What's going on is they're going to be looking to build their pipeline now, even if they are on a hiring or interview freeze, so that when things do get better, they have that effective pipeline of those that continue to stay abreast with them and that could fill these roles in quickly once again everything does settle back into place. Now, we're now going to shift over, as we looked at a couple of the core ways that we could see students and job seekers stay structured, ways that they could seek support, those career services, the tools that are provided within, and other additional means, and of course, the importance of networking. We're now going to shift over and discuss the actual resource at hand, Vault, how many students and job seekers can gain access for free through their institution, as they all have subscriptions. But before we actually take us into the platform, it's best to understand how Vault actually collects our data. Now, there's a lot of tools, as we showed, some of which on those previous sites, and some of the tools really rely off crowdsourced information, or there is no anonymous function. It's all public material. And what we see from maybe sometimes the commentary on those sites is that it's less of an uppers and downers. It's more of a look how positive these organizations are doing. And that could be too because the organizations are doing great things within how they're treating their employees. But we've always heard over our years, 25 plus in business, that it's best to hear from a verified source. And not only a source that you know is giving you no bias, but the ability to hear uppers, downers, and more advice coming from someone in the trenches and in the trenches on an updated basis. So we're now going to just take us quickly out of this PowerPoint presentation here. What we're going to take us into is the home page to Vault. Now we're going to discuss how you could gain access. The first step is that since we work with numerous career services departments and in fact libraries as well across the globe, that will be the first starting point to see if your institution does have access. Most of these schools are having public listings such as online resources. If they have some form of career management portal, whether that be Simplicity, Handshake, others alike, Vault is most likely found also within the resource library section of those password protected portals. But we're looking at Vault from our public site here, as we see in the browser, just vault.com. One thing that we have implemented to avoid confusion of trying to search within your career services and or library database to find your branded Vault portal is that we have a redirect option directly on our site. Now, the reason we have that redirect, if you dive deep into some of these sections, you're going to see all lock symbols, or perhaps like I click here on guidebooks and go to select one here, that you'll actually have to pay for this information. Well, we don't want individuals that already have access to this information for free via their career services or their institution to have to go and pay access. So that's why if you select the section here that says login, you could see a section that calls, are you a student? Now this applies to alumni as well. It's saying that you might have free access. All you need to do is type in your valid school email address, press submit, and you'll receive an email in real time that's going to just give you the instructions of how to gain access to your portal. Upon following those instructions, you will then gain access to all our proprietary information that we're about to cover. Now, I am just going to quickly log in here with my test credentials. And as you can see, you will now see in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, access provided by such test credentials. After you went through the method, either through our public site redirect or merely going through the channels via career services and or library, you'll see your institution's name in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. If you don't, just either contact us at support@vault.com or contact your career services office just to see again how to gain access, because most likely it was user error. All right, we're going to go back to the main home page now of the Vault testing account here. And the first thing that we want to discuss is the option to either navigate Vault through our header. Our header has calls to our core sections, our rankings, our research companies, explore internships, several sections under career advice, blogs, those guides that we just quickly highlighted, and our job board. But if I scroll up and down here on my desktop, now we'll quickly go back to that search functionality, we see those similar calls listed here. Now, the reason we do so is that Vault is in fact mobile friendly. So if you're coming on your mobile device, your tablet, and you don't see that header, because the header is more consistent on a desktop and laptop, we don't want you to miss out on seeing all course sections that we think will be appropriate. And even recently, Vault has created its own landing page for all content that's relatable to our resources for fighting COVID-19. So you could go to a landing page of that as well. But I quickly just want to highlight our search bar. Now, our search bar is very unique in that we have the ability to search by companies, internships, if this is what you're looking for, or perhaps general career advice, case interviewing, resume creation. So many different searches will give you the ability to dive deeper into our platform. Let's just take a quick look of doing a search for a company. Now, what you're going to get is not only search results listed on the main page that's relevant to that term. So in this scenario, searching the organization KPMG, we see that we have ample profiles, whether on life as an employee in certain sectors, maybe what life is like working within the organization within their regions. And then we have filter options here on the left. Now, these filter options will continue to increase as you do your searches. So if I actually go back here, back to the main search, even though we could always do a search via the magnifying glass within the header, and perhaps I'm now looking to do a search on a keyword like resume creation. You'll see again, same formatting, showing relevant content that takes you, and also the filter option on the left. Now, some search results is why we did this example of two, a company and of course a keyword, is that you'll see here in this scenario, we're showing sample documents, guidebooks and videos that might talk about the topic at hand. We like to call Vault search functionality that all else fails option in case you are struggling to navigate through sections on the header. Now, the first category we're going to dive in the header is actually just quickly going back to those collection of Vault guidebooks. Now, we don't print guidebooks anymore. We do like to go green here at Vault. And luckily, being digital and having these guidebooks, we now update them a little bit more frequently. And we're coming out with new titles that are not just focused on career discovery, the industries and the professions that are going to help you be most successful, but on topics like case interviewing, finance interviewing, so on and so forth. Now, we're going to highlight as we scroll here the landing page for our guidebooks. We're showing some of the most popular, as we could see. These rotate based off the traffic that we receive from our countless campus subscriptions, just to help job seekers and students alike understand maybe what is happening in the industry. Is there an increased demand for industries like consulting or banking? Guidebooks on internships being searched heavily, or based off certain populations like MBA international student. But you're catching on that we always like to give additional filter options, either on the left or sometimes the right-hand side of the screen. So in this scenario, as we can see here, we have links to wide range of industries. And if you don't see your industry listed there, more likely than not, it's found under industries. And then on other topics like advice, whether it's networking, digitally, of course, and of course in person when the time allows, resume, interviewing as I referenced, and even other titles. Now I'm going to click around here because what we like to do, and we'll use accounting as the example, especially that within the next couple days, our newest accounting rankings will be released, is that the majority of our sectors have these sort of titles. A guidebook that will first talk all about the industry, not only about changes that have been occurring recently, but also talking about ways to research companies within, outside of those that are being ranked within Vault, of course, learning how to write your resume and interview within that industry. Then we have guidebooks that talk exclusively about the jobs. For this scenario, it's not just being an accountant. You could, of course, be an actuary, forensic accounting, so many different career paths that a job seeker needs to know about. And then we'll have titles that will talk about the employer's tag to that industry, allowing you an easier search based off all our recent survey data to understand the culture fit, diversity hiring, and other key initiatives that the organizations are providing. And we're just going to click around because you'll see that this is consistent in the majority of our categories. Now I'm just going to get us into one particular title here. What you're going to notice if I decided to select our guide on information technology careers is that we're first going to be taking to a little landing page. Now the landing page is not only going to give us the ability to get into our newly created embedded reader, but it's going to reiterate some of the content that we saw on the previous slide within the PowerPoint, how Vault develops our content. This is the first reference that you'll hear things like insider perspective. And as we look at our rankings and company data, you'll see our survey methodology listed there. Now, upon clicking the View Now blue button, wait for your page to load depending on your internet speed of all of us working and studying from home. And what is loading is in fact our new embedded reader. Now, our embedded reader has a lot of new tech features. If you want to learn about the tech features, or if this is your first time to an embedded reader, merely click on this icon here that says Take a Tour. You'll be able to learn about those features, talking about how to save content, download, if you see here, in case you wanted to read it on your own e-reader, depending on the device that you're using. Perhaps you will prefer to print and read from that way, even though, again, we encourage going green. And even when the time comes for you to maybe cite our guidebooks within the casework, you have that information there too. Now, these guidebooks, why users turn to them first outside of diving deep into all other categories is because, again, they consolidate everything that we think a job seeker needs to know about the topic at hand. These content chapters start with things like the scoop. And upon clicking the down arrow, we'll see that the scoop actually has additional chapters within. The scoop contains things like the basics, the state of the industry looking ahead. When we look at the drop downs further, you can see that some have multiple additional chapters, others don't. Hence why, again, these guidebooks are so in-depth. Now, maybe I was going to learn more about trends of what's on the job. I need to get a quick little overview about what the changes are occurring from a daily perspective. You can see we even have those chapters. Now, all the content in Vault, as you see and you click here, is able to, again, be sought through the embedded reader, or if you prefer to view this via the download, you have that option too, all free of charge by going through your school's portal. Now we're going to continue on our discovery of industries and professions, but we're going to shift ourselves now to the section that says career advice. And we do so because maybe you don't want to look at the complete scope of what the industry or the profession has to offer. And maybe your pain point as a job seeker is more about what my resume should look like, how I beat automated tracking systems. Maybe I'm coming up for an interview and I need to learn the difference between a Skype interview and other formats. Or maybe you just prefer to learn in shorter content or video content. The career advice category is going to be those segments for you. Now, we could spend hours upon hours diving into career advice. We're going to focus on some of the more important and trafficked areas. And the first we're going to look at is all the way at the bottom here, labeled Career Q&A videos. Now, we understand that of all the campuses that we work with, that there's so many different types of majors within. So that is why you're always going to see, upon coming to the landing page within Career Advice, Career Q&A videos, a different today's video. We see right now it's a director of volunteer services. Tomorrow it could be a drone pilot. The next day it could be an accountant. When you then scroll down, you'll then see a category that says most popular. These actually rotate based off what we're seeing from your individual portal. So you could see again what your peers are seeking and maybe go and look at those professions because they're in demand. Now, we are hopeful that either the featured video or the most popular video is something of interest for our users. If not, you could then browse by all the categories, very similar to what we saw within our guidebook landing page directly here. Now, perhaps I wanted to stay, and I'll stick with this theme of IT, and I'll come here and I'll look at some of the videos that we have for information technology careers. Well, we like to keep our formatting similar. So even though we are on an exclusive landing page for all our IT videos, we're still going to show you a featured video of that day before allowing you then to scroll down and see all the other videos that we have tagged to that particular profession. Now, I just want to get us into a video here. Unfortunately, because of those watching the recording, not and those live as well through the webinar, you're not going to be able to hear the audio. But the reason we point out these videos is they're a little bit different from what a job seeker could merely find by going to, let's just say, YouTube, or maybe by going to a government website that hasn't had this information updated in years. Well, luckily, we're really abreast of some of the changes of these professions, and we're always trying to cover in-demand and new ones that are coming. But we also understand that our job seekers are all different in the point that they're out. Maybe someone that is just finishing up their freshman year of college, they need to learn more about the education and certifications that might be required within the role of their choice. Perhaps one of these graduating seniors, they need to looking at the future, or maybe what the day in the job entails when they do find this opportunity when things subside. Now, all our videos are ADA compliant. We have the ability for transcripts, closed captioning, and when you actually click one of the segments of the video, wait for your page to load again, you'll be taken into that clip of the video, so no need to wait until you get to that chapter. Now, heading back into the menu of career advice, we're going to skip over a couple of self-explanatory. We do have a database that allows users to find graduate schools in case that's what they're considering in order to get more education within a particular field. We have a database that allows you to go search information here, whether it's through rankings that are coming from third-party sources, or perhaps they're just more the profile and the survey student review. You have that liberty as well. And then we also have categories that are labeled day in the life. Now, day in the life just takes some of the content we already discussed within a guidebook and some of the segments within the videos and just puts it into a one easy to read snapshot for the user, no longer than 3 minutes long at read, in order for them to get information on what life is like in a particular role, and sometimes roles at the organization. As we continue to work our way up the career advice, we then have landing pages that say explore careers and research industries. Now, we already touched upon how guidebooks are a great start for that information, but we highlight these pages in case a user doesn't know where to start. This is another reference to a ranking on Vault, as we'll continue to get to as we proceed with the overview section. These rankings could help an individual, all again based off our methodology, in case they're looking on topics like fastest growing industries, industries for certain populations. When you click on any ranking of Vault, you're going to see that we're going to have the ability to look at the methodology, be able to go into other rankings tagged to that topic, like industries here. And the whole gist of this is to get users to see, all right, maybe pharmaceutical and biology technical companies are where I should turn my attention to. Well, I first need to learn more about the industry and all this great content as well that can be found on these profiles. Now, the final areas in career advice that we're going to talk about is through resumes, through networking. They all have the same formatting and features within, so we're going to show the most popular in our opinion, and that being interview tips and questions. Now, if it was resumes or cover letters, you'll actually have the ability to look through sample documents and download them in Word or PDF. But the real segments of all these four categories is not the samples that we provide, but it's the video content. This is where we'll have our second housing of videos. These videos we call our career tips. Now, many of the schools that we work with provide access not just for students, but for job seekers alike. They're alumni, hence the reason why you see some that are more geared to a current worker. But these categories are going to help users, whether it's resume creation, learning about automated tracking systems like referenced earlier, or as you can see here on topics that are very important today, if you just prefer to learn via video format. Okay, so far we have learned that our guidebooks and section 1 career advice are great for the career discovery component that's needed for all job seekers. If a job seeker is now turning their attention to finding opportunities, we suggest that they start with our internship explore category. Now, the purpose of Vault's internship portal is to not only let users know about what verified interns are discussing at their organizations, but to see if they'll be eligible in the sense of the requirements that are needed, and if needed as well, the ability to learn about how to apply. But we know that so many career services portals now have access to all these particular job postings and internships that are being directed to a school. So we at least encourage you to come and do your research on the reviews from a verified intern, even if you see an organization posting an internship elsewhere. Because by either A, going and typing within our word wheel, as you can see here, active opportunities will appear. Perhaps you don't know the name of an organization internship and you need to use either our categories, such as choosing an industry first, and then being able to select from location, area of interest, paid or unpaid, others. Top searches in case you want to see what Vault's community has been looking at the moment. And then again, rankings. Now, this is where we'll get a little bit more site activity because our rankings are really known for our internships and our company research. Now, when we started years ago, it was always doing the overall best internships or most prestigious. Well, we've expanded. We expanded because we understand that some are looking for internships in certain industries. Others are looking for internships on certain topics like career development. Students are recognizing that not all internships lead to a full-time offer, so maybe they have to find one that's going to give them best chances of doing so and learning. Or maybe we do want to find the opportunities that lead to success, diversity initiatives, so on and so forth. We're just going to quickly take us into a standard ranking for an internship on Vault. We see here that detailed methodology. We also see ranking history in case you want to see scores and trends over the years. But the importance here is to get a user as we scroll to see organizations maybe they never heard of before, organizations that they have heard that they want to get a little bit more insight to, or just to continue to do as much research as possible on existing internships. Now, if we come to this page, we notice that we have an overview, an intern review, and a how to apply section, which is very important and familiar on most of our internship profiles. Now, we first want to look about the overview, sometimes overlooked by a user. This is going to talk all about the internship opportunity. The number of interns that they're seeking will be listed on the right-hand side, as well as sometimes a point of contact, more on that later, along with the location setting. Now, we did stress about eligibility. That is something too that we will always list on the overview page to let a user know if they could even be eligible for the opportunity. Now, then we have two very important links. Now, let's just say the user has already learned about ways of going in and applying. Most likely not, they're going to still spend a lot of time looking at our verified intern reviews. Now, our intern reviews are broken down into certain categories. You could scroll up and down and look at all the reviews that we received from a verified intern. You could also dive in deep into some of the more directed questions that we asked. So you might already be heading on to an interview with this organization. Well, maybe come here and verse yourself on some of the questions that are asked. Or perhaps you have more insight that you're seeking on some of the topics. We give great content and allows the user to hear it again from a verified source, depending on what your need is. And then there's the how to apply. Now, who knows it best and what you should do to apply? Well, that is going to be the talent acquisition at these organizations. So they're providing Vault with the information on how you go about the process, the deadline, and even sometimes contacts. Now, whether that contact be a generic email address, locating you where you should go ahead and find additional, or as we saw on the right-hand side, an actual person's name, this is a great way for you to stay more in touch with the recruiters and, of course, learn about more direct opportunities for you to go ahead and apply if you don't know how to do so already. Now, everything that we just saw was about that internship program, and you're probably noticing that below the internship name, we have a redirect to the full-time company portal. We're going to go look at a standard company profile right now, but I'd like to highlight it by going through one of our research landing pages. Now, Vault's been doing surveys for quite some time. And what we realized here is that from all these surveys, we have a lot of core content, not only in over 100 different industries, but these are some of our very popular ones that we tend to be the leaders in. We have landing pages for them, but I always still suggest a user either first starts looking at a company by browsing more via our company list, or maybe going through and looking through a ranking. Now, we've already identified that rankings within internships is a great way to look at some of the factors. Well, our full-time company portal actually has way more different rankings and sub-rankings within, why I think it's best to highlight. Now, we're going to scroll down and you're going to see that there's so many different type of rankings on Vault. If it recently came out within a past month, we're going to highlight it there so you could dive deep. But this is one of our favorite parts of a ranking. So let's actually go look at that new banking ranking that we saw the release that just came out a couple weeks ago. You can see an overall, as we notice, is a common theme of Vault, along with how prestigious the organizations are. But some of our most popular rankings tend to be around more granular information. Maybe I am a diverse candidate and I'm trying to look for an organization within the banking industry that has some initiatives for me in place. Perhaps I'm a tech professional and I wanted to look at some of the organizations that are giving me some challenges, or maybe just are giving me the best way to have overall satisfaction. And then the majority of our rankings do have what we call the best to work for, or sometimes referred to as quality of life factors. Now, when Vault started years ago, everyone just wanted to know how much compensation you would make within a given industry. That's still very popular, but we've expanded. And what users are really turning to Vault now is to learn about culture fit, work-life balance, the hiring process, firm leadership, so many factors depending on you, the job seeker and student, what matters most to you. Now I'm going to choose one factor here. It takes us to a ranking page just for that particular sector of, as we see here, best to work for. We again go look at our ranking history to show that we've been doing this for quite some time, and also to learn more about this survey's methodology. Now we could jump from organization to organization by really going through the factor, I should say. Maybe I also am interested in ability to challenge. We point this out because you're going to again see organizations you know, organizations that you don't know, and what we want our candidates to do is click and learn. Now, we mentioned earlier within our slide deck that sometimes reaching out to alumni association is the best way to continue to network, but learn about life at the organization they might be at. And mentorship opportunities are great, but those sometimes could take longer and even prolong during this tough time that we're in. So maybe getting it directly within your fingertips is great, coming from, again, verified sources. Now, similar formatting, we show here the name of the organization that allows us to do research about the overview of the company, what's currently going on, their key stats, number of employees that they have. We might also want to dive deep into other rankings that they maybe have been ranked from, since we came from certain ranking previously. And then we have the sections of the survey says and the ability to look at all the reviews that we receive from the company. Now, we know that some companies that we work with are easier because they're smaller, that you could go and look at line by line, but maybe we're talking about larger companies like an Accenture, almost 500 million employees. Maybe looking through the survey says is the best way. Now, each survey says category is first going to give what we call our Vault verdict. I referenced earlier, we've been doing these surveys for quite some time, most of the same organizations year after year. So we've been seeing our own trends, and you might want to take our word for it before you see overall quotes again coming from the employees at the organization. Now, these quotes are going to talk about a wide range of factors, and normally what's discussed is things like the hiring process at this organization, even interview questions that were asked, and even though we see, if I scroll all the way back to the top, that this program has a couple multiple internship opportunities at the moment, full-time employees are still reflecting back on their intern experience. We'll also touch upon career development, continuing to growing within our site as it's very popular by students. Topics also around quality of life, salary and benefits, diversity and other initiatives. And then sometimes users' personal favorites are the business outlook. We have a lot of Fortune 500 companies that take part of our survey, but at the same time, we have a lot of boutique companies too. If you were a little concerned about the key cash flow and hiring, firing, maybe at a smaller company, the business outlook could be a great opportunity to seek amongst all the other great content on our site. Before we finish our overview on Vault, we just want to look at our blog section and, in fact, our job board. Now, our blogs are a great way for individuals to stay abreast of what's going on with the current global climate. We already touched upon how we have not only our own landing page for coronavirus updates, but any blog article as well that was tagged to them. But this is another great way to learn exactly about new updates to Vault 2. Has there been a guidebook, a new internship ranking, etc.? These blog articles, they are coming out each and every day. They're on topics for both current students and job seekers alike. Even career staff tend to use them and forward them to their peers. And we're always encouraging users to seek out our editors to get more insight and even suggest more feedback on our platform. The final section before we take questions from the live community is we're actually going to go into Vault's job board. Now, what you see here is that our job board does open up into a different browser. The unique thing about our job board is that we have jobs both coming from our organization partners that are taking part of these surveys. They're coming into our back channel, as you see here, and they're posting a job. But we also work with third-party aggregators, those being from ZipRecruiter to others alike, in order to pull as many opportunities into one search. Now, again, we note that there's other tools during Career Services website and even sometimes learning about opportunities through networking, but it's good to have another job board at your disposal. Now, you could do a standard search within our job board by keyword location. You could always see rotating latest jobs, but at a minimum, we encourage job seekers to sign up for our job alerts by putting in your email address, keywords that don't even have to just be on the profession, but will be key on the actual organization too. And even the location will send you job alerts so you don't always have to come back and do your own searches within the Vault platform, a very unique feature within our site. Now we're going to take us back into the standard PowerPoint here before we take questions from the live community. And one thing that we just do want to point out is that we're trying to not only leverage the information that we're getting from our own company partners, but to also give this to individuals, but we're looking about the market as well in other places. And one thing that we have noticed, and we love to give a shout out to those that are doing great jobs within the field, is that our friends at LinkedIn, the editors have been compiling lists each and every day of companies with the biggest talent needs or some of the bigger organizations that are out there saying that we are actively posting. Now, this is changing each and every day here. In fact, this does not show the complete canvas of organizations that are still willing to go out and not having any impact to their hiring. But it's great to follow, of course, the hiring trends that are going on LinkedIn. They do have a hashtag for it. It's hiring now. If you go on LinkedIn, it should also be very visible for any job seeker that's using that platform. But the companies range from organizations that are looking to fill roles within their distribution centers, other companies that, whether they're more now looking for e-educators with just so many schools going to remote learning. You're also seeing companies that are in the healthcare industry, a CVS, Walgreens, that they're looking to hire individuals as well. So note that there's so many opportunities that are ever going to be coming out. Each and every day is different, but you have to keep your eyes up here, and you have to continue to dive deep into every single tool that's at your disposal, especially all those being provided through Career Services, as that they have their pulse on the finger. Now, before we do take these live questions from attendees, we just want to leave everyone with one final thought, is that you need to understand that the name of the game here of job searching via COVID-19 is that we have to be patient. Every day is changing, and so many companies are moving away from normal and just shifting to what might be the new normal. We're still seeing companies figuring out what their business is going to be like moving forward. Some that even are saying today that there are hiring change within a matter of days. But while companies are still having hiring freezes, and many of them might be postponing maybe their interviews, they're still out there building that pipeline. So if you continue to be active, research industries, companies, opportunities that are out there, network like a rock star, you're going to be able to notice that when things do subside, it's going to be easy for all of us to get back into our daily lives. All right, we do see a couple questions that have came in. Just give us a second while we look at the questions and then answer those that will be applicable to the live attendees. But note that we are always there to listen to you, especially for those that might be watching this recording. Feel free to reach out to some of the contacts you see on the screen here, those that work hand in hand with both Career Services, that know the pain points of students. We're always looking to hear more questions, not only on the COVID-19 job searching during this tough time, but also things about virtual learning, professional development, so on and so forth. And you could even follow us on social media as well, in case you wanted to contact directly to get more of a guided approach. Now, the majority of the questions that we came in, a lot of them tend to be about where to gain access to Vault again. So we just want to reiterate that majority of schools across the globe are in fact subscribing to the Vault resource. The Vault resource allows you to get free access by going through your career services department and or your library, as it should be listed within the database as well. But if you have any questions regarding if your school is a current subscriber, again, email the contacts here. And additionally, you could go again to our public site, as we showed by pressing login, you have the ability to type in a valid school email address and receive your login credentials. We had a question that came in regarding, will organizations be shifting their their events to a virtual career fair? We're seeing that very happen within a lot of organizations. They're still trying to take this opportunity, like we said, to recruit. And every campus is different in sense of what they're offering. So I guess the best suggestion would be to check in with your career services department, most likely within their events page, to see if any of these previous on-campus events are now shifting virtually. Well, everyone, we encourage you to type in questions, and not only type in questions, but email us questions that you might have. But for those that, of course, attended live, we thank you. For everyone that's watching this webinar recording, we thank you too. We wish you all the best within your career discovery during these challenging times. We hope that you stay safe as well. And we look forward to seeing you on the Vault resource real soon. Take care, everyone.